telling you that this is just my third year as a superintendent, so I don't have really nice paper from my notes like David does every on his other year, and I'll try not to use them. Have you ever had that strange, uncomfortable feeling when you're just about to walk into that really important interview? Or how about when you're about to meet those future new in-laws? Or how about when you're walking on the stage to talk to hundreds and hundreds of really intelligent people in this audience? I mean, you know the feeling. Excessive worrying, heartbeats racing, small panic attacks, shortness of breath. The fact is that as leaders, we've all had those moments of anxiety, but it is just those moments of anxiety that have often propelled us to do amazing things. Despite those anxious feelings and those physical reactions that sometimes come along with those highly anxious times, most people are able to carry on and in fact get to the point where they're comfortable with those anxious situations. Because it's the response to anxiety, not anxiety itself, that causes the problem. Natural anxiety is when people are able to still carry on anxious situations and tasks. Anxiety gets to the level of an anxiety disorder when it becomes excessive, disproportionately extreme, and when people are no longer able to carry on those day-to-day functions. It can become a serious disorder when it becomes uncontrollable, unreasonable, when it starts to show itself in various physical and affective symptoms. It's a problem when it interferes with the day-to-day functioning of our students. So here's the problem. Anxiety disorders have become the most prevalent childhood psychological disorder experienced by 10 to 21% of the children and adolescents that we work with every day. These disorders are now the most common and widespread mental illness, affecting nearly 40 million adults worldwide, 18 years and older. With its frequency and its potential to cause so many negative consequences, it has now been named the greatest health problem in terms of the global burden of disease. Studies have shown that anxiety and stress can negatively impact the bodies and the emotions of the children and adolescents that we serve every day. It can develop into many interesting issues that we see: student absenteeism, low self-esteem, behavioral issues, deficiency in academic achievement, poor peer relationships, a decrease in their attention and their focus, and an increase in their dependency on adults. We've seen it every day, and we stand on the sidelines and hope those kids get help with that issue so that we can do our job. If it's left untreated, those anxiety disorders can turn into serious medical issues, such as high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, or depression. And right now, childhood anxiety has become the primary reason for referral to the mental health services. Adolescents at this time, it's such a critical period in their development. This is a time where significant developmental changes are occurring. The brain itself is developing in the areas that govern not only the affective, the emotional part of a child, but also the executive functioning of a child to get through those day-to-day situations that we present to them in schools. Teens begin to change their importance of family to more of an importance in friends. They began to seek ways to be individual, yet at the same time, they're working so hard to fit in to the community that we have built in the K through 12 education. Anxiety tends to change from those concrete, specific fears of little kids to more abstract worries or interpersonal relationship concerns that severely impact the learning process. It can become so intense and so extreme that in self-reports, patients will describe it as feeling nervous and doomed about what they perceive is going to happen. And they describe their surroundings as changing and menacing, and that they're losing control of their bodies and their reactions. And you know, at that time, Romeo and Juliet and 8th grade math and 7th grade English really don't matter anymore. So what can we do? I've had the opportunity to work with hundreds of families who have children that have formal diagnosis of anxiety, and I have experienced their frustration and their heartache in trying to get help for their kids. And all of that help comes outside of the school, through specialized centers, or through community mental health facilities, or a private, expensive psychologist that works alongside that concerned parent. But what has always been missing all these years is the voice of the children who are experiencing that anxiety. And we as educators stand on the side, wanting their voices to be heard, wanting them to get the help that they need so that they can learn the lesson plans that we planned. This is what we can do. This is what we can do, and it's free, and it's easy, and it can happen in a classroom for all students and all staff, by the way, that have anxiety. We can, by embedding anxiety-reducing strategies right into the classroom, the barriers can be reduced. The socioeconomic and the demographic differences can fade away, and that shame and stigma that often comes by having to go outside of school to get help at a community mental health facility can just about be eliminated. You see, these strategies can empower students to take control of how they handle their anxiety and provide support in coping with their day-to-day issues so they do not become severe medical issues in the future. Friedman, Lear, and Stevens, back in 1983, they found that anxiety and stress can be reduced if the person perceives some degree of control over their environment. So I want to talk to you about three anxiety-reducing strategies that you can put into your classroom every day. The first one is called progressive muscle relaxation. It was first introduced in 1908, and it's based on the premise that a person cannot be simultaneously tense and relaxed at the same time. Way back in 1938, Jacobson began to study the benefits of releasing and tensing various muscle groups to reduce anxiety. So in 1975, Fredrickson took him up on that and began to teach students to not only understand and recognize signs of anxiety, but also to walk them through that process of progressive muscle relaxation so that their anxiety can be reduced. And he worked with them until they were able to independently do those exercises so that they could reduce their anxiety throughout the day, whether it's before a test, before a presentation, before walking into the cafeteria to see that girl you've been liking so long, and there she is looking at you. And there's so many, we all have anxious situations, and this works in a minute. You start at your toes, they can do it sitting down, they can do it standing up. Start with your toes, and you crunch your toes, and you go up your calves and your thighs, your buttocks and your abdomen muscles. You clench, you release, you clench, you release, and your shoulders and down, and your facial muscles clench and release. And in a minute's time, your body will go from a tense situation to a relaxed situation, and you just might be able to get through that test successfully. Empowering students to utilize these techniques does not promise long-term benefits. It's not our job to fix or cure anxiety as educators, but it will give them the tools that they need to use at will to get through those anxious situations that we present in a school setting. Second one is deep breathing exercises. We've been doing this forever. You've heard forever. Take a deep breath. In through the mouth, out through the nose. Or my personal favorite is my yoga teacher telling me, no, don't forget to breathe. I mean, really, don't forget to breathe. But obviously it's an important thing that we need to do. We do it as adults, and now we need to teach our children, because they have found that teaching children to breathe will alert the body so that it will react with less severe reactions to anxious situations. When students are taught how to breathe and to concentrate on their breathing, it not only slows down the heartbeat, but it also replaces those negative self-taught with an intense focus on their breathing. So then they're able to manipulate through those situations. The third one is positive self-taught. It's been around forever. Our elite athletes use it. Our professional speakers use it. We use it to get through situations, knowing that when we get through, we're probably going to be alive on the other side of this. It's going to be okay, but we don't teach our kids the same thing. Students who have the ability to articulate their feelings and their perceptions have found long-term benefits to replacing negative self-talk with positive self-talk. It's really just a monologue where an individual interprets their feelings and perceptions, they regulate and change their evaluations and convictions, and give him or herself instruction and reinforcement to get through any of those situations. All of these things are not time intensive. They're free. They're no equipment, and they're easy to learn. Empowering our students to be able to help their anxiety is the best gift that we can give them. Thank you.